Principle number 1 of healthy eating. Am I really hungry? I would define hunger as a feeling of discomfort or weakness caused by the lack of food. You'll notice that that is a physical sensation that you are feeling in your body. This is where utilizing the hunger scale can be extremely helpful. On a scale from 1 to 10, how hungry are you? 1 being starving and 10 being overly stuffed. Start paying attention to your physical sensations, and that will help you decide if you are actually hungry. Principle number 2, what do you actually like eating? If you were to go out to your birthday, what food would you ask for? Are you eating it just because it's in front of you? Are you eating it just because other people are eating it? These are questions to ask yourself. It's important to know which foods you like eating, because then that will help you to leave food on the plate that you dislike eating. Are you eating it just because you're feeling kind of unsure of yourself, stressed or bored? Or are you eating it from a place of true hunger? The next time you're eating, try this activity. Would you rather be eating something else? Do you actually like what's on your plate in front of you? If you were someone who grew up in a household where food was put in front of you and you didn't have a choice in the matter and you had to finish everything on your plate, you might have a slightly distorted idea of what foods you actually like eating. Take some time and explore tastes, explore textures, explore different cuisines, and start finding out which foods you actually enjoy. This is not to be confused with picky eating, which we will discuss in a little bit. So a side note on picky eating is that picky eating is the overall refusal to eat certain foods and never try them again. If you find yourself who is someone leaning towards being a picky eater, then a good rule of thumb is to try every food 11 times before you say you dislike it. That's because the food can be slightly different every time you try it. Maybe it was prepared differently. Maybe you were having a bad day one time. Maybe you just weren't in the mood for something like that. That's why it's important to try things over and over and over again. We would do the same thing with small children. It's okay if they leave it on their plate, but we'll keep offering it to them, and it's their choice whether they eat it or not. The same thing is true for you. Offer it up to yourself. Give it a try. See how you feel. And if after 11 tries you still don't like it, that's okay. You can put that food back on the shelf and know it's just not something you like. Principle number 3 is eating a variety of foods. People who eat a diverse amount of foods have a greater diversity of gut bacteria. And having a greater diversity of gut bacteria is also related to being at a lower body weight. That's because the bacteria in your gut are constantly exchanging information with your genetics. So in a way, picky eating can actually contribute to weight gain. Whereas some people think that picky eating means they should weigh less because they have fewer food choices they actually enjoy. Principle number 4, leaving food on your plate, also known as the Clean Your Plate Club. This can be a very difficult one if you grew up in a household where you had to clean your plate before you left the table. It can also be difficult if you grew up in a place of scarcity where maybe there wasn't enough food or enough resources and you felt like you had to eat everything. This can also be true if you were in any form of the military, where they make you eat very quickly and get back on out there. These can be tough habits to break. So as an exercise, I'd like you to try today, leave 2 bites of food on your plate at the end of the meal and throw it away. On a scale of 1 to 10, how uncomfortable does that make you? Other much healthier cultures simply stop eating when they receive the internal cues that they are starting to feel full. This is around 80% full, to be more specific. On the other hand, according to Michael Pollan, we Americans eat until we receive some sort of visual or external cue from the environment that it's time to stop. As in, the bowl is empty, the plate is clean, the TV show is over. What a novel idea to stop eating the moment you are no longer hungry, instead of relying on some external force. Principle number 5 is nourishing your body. Sometimes healthy foods get a really bad rap, and we've grown up eating them in a way that didn't taste very good. But the truth is that healthy foods can taste good too. We need to break out of what society has conditioned us to eat. A lot of the foods that we eat that are pre-packaged are actually specifically created to be in a 1-to-2 ratio of carbs, fat, and sugar in order to promote addiction within us. This is an actual area of study that companies are doing. Eating well-balanced meals, whole fresh foods in regular intervals throughout the day will help keep you in control of your reward center. When you sit down for a meal, when you think about choosing foods, I want you to tell this to yourself. I choose healthy, nourishing foods because I love and respect myself. Principle number 6, the emotion of eating. Are you emotionally eating, or are you acknowledging that there is emotion linked with our foods? If we reduce our eating experience simply down to fuel, we are seriously oversimplifying its role in humans. The last time a human solely ate for fuel was likely back in Neanderthal days. By the way, that was approximately 200,000 years ago, until being replaced by more humanoid figures about 35,000 years ago. I think it's safe to say that we operate on a higher plane of thinking in this day and age. And because of this, food has been used as a ritual, as a celebration, a show of affection over thousands and thousands of years. We have to accept that we are more complex beings than originally emerged during the early days. There is a stark difference between emotional eating and emotion linked with foods. Emotional eating is a way to cope with and self-soothe troubled emotions rather than facing and dealing with them. In a sense, it is trying to avoid dealing with your emotions in an emotionally healthy way by covering them up in a flood of food-related dopamine. Acknowledging that there are emotions and experiences linked to our foods is a way to celebrate holidays, feel pleasure eating our favorite foods, remember our loved ones, and explore new cultures. So what are some forms of eating that are linked to an emotion that are something you should embrace instead of trying to avoid? These could be celebrating birthdays, holidays, having a family dinner or a Sunday brunch, coffee with a friend, maybe date night with your partner, traveling and trying new cuisines, or simply just enjoying food because you like it. So let's start identifying whether it's the emotion of eating or emotionally eating. The first thing to note is, are you consuming healthful, balanced meals throughout the day? If you're not doing that, then you are likely already coming from a dysregulated place. Where are you at on the hunger scale? Are you paying attention to your physical cues? How satisfied are you in most aspects of your life? These are your emotions. How do you feel? Instead of eating, is there something else that you would rather be doing? And do you have an emotional support person? Do you have someone you can go to? Family, friends, or a therapist? And lastly, how resilient are you? So perhaps you've identified that what you're actually doing is emotional eating. This is eating that is not food linked to emotion. It is food covering up emotions. let's stop. What are you feeling? Before you eat, stop and take a pause. What am I feeling? What do I need? These are 2 questions to ask yourself. Identify your emotion, name it, give it a name. That will make it real. And then ask yourself, what do I need to take care of this emotion? After identifying that, this is when you can move into self-care, dealing with your feelings, and finding a distraction. There are many things you can do to take care of yourself. One might be to simply rest, or you can find a way to express your emotions, whether in a journal or talking to someone. You could play with your pet, you could pet a kitty, take your dog for a walk, you could listen to music, you could breathe, meditate. Maybe you could play a game, try some yoga. There are many things you could do. Once you've identified that emotion, it's important that you take care of that emotional aspect, or you might find yourself repeating the same weight loss, weight regain cycles that you may have dealt with for many years. The first month after surgery, you can expect to lose between 10 and 30 pounds. This is a big variability because everyone starts off at a different weight. We also have different genetics and different exercise levels. As long as you are within that average range, just know that your weight loss is normal. After the first month, people typically lose around 10 pounds a month. That's 10 to 30 pounds the first month, and then around 10 pounds a month after that. Weight loss normally continues until around 12 months after surgery, although some people can lose up to 18 months. Again, this is very dependent on your own genetics, your metabolism, and your activity level. People who lose more weight or continue to lose weight until that 18-month post-surgery mark typically do 2 things. They actively engage in exercise most days of the week, doing something planned and intentional above what their normal daily activity is, and they utilize self-monitoring, like how we recommend using a food journal or a food app to track your food. People who track their food are more likely to stay on track with their habits, and they're more likely to make sure that they lose weight for a longer period of time. What is healthy childhood eating? And why is it important to know what it is in order to heal your relationship with food as an adult? Let's talk about what that looks like. It is the parent's responsibility to provide healthy, balanced meals with at least 3 different foods from 3 different food groups. It is then the child's responsibility to decide what to eat and how much. But if they finish early, they are expected to sit at the table with the rest of the family while they finish their meals. I get a lot of deer in the headlight looks when I talk to parents about how to help their children develop a healthy relationship with their food at an early age. But the point of talking about childhood eating isn't necessarily to focus on working with your children, but it's to get you to start thinking about your childhood and identifying areas that you might need to work on.